What does usury mean? Usury in real estate means it's a unusually high interest rate or the lending of money is at an unusually high interest rate. An example of usury is an interest rate of 30% when everywhere else normal rates are charging only 15%. Charging interest rates that are higher than the rate allowed under the law.
Salesperson licenses are only issued to individuals, not companies. You may only have one salesperson's license at a time. You may not hold a broker and a salesperson's license at the same time. An individual may hold numerous broker licenses at the same time. Licenses are issued for 3 years. If you miss one renewal, you have one option: to make up the continue education and apply for relicensures. If you miss more than one renewal, you will then have 3 options from which you can choose from. You can make up the continuing education class, or you can retake and pass the 40-hour class, or you can retake and pass the state exam, and then you can reapply for licensure. In order to renew, you need 6 hours of continuing education for each year license. In other words, 18 hours for the full 3 years of licensure. This includes the year your license is issued. If your license is revoked, then it is gone for a minimum of 3 years, but it could be gone for good. This would be reinstatement, not relicensure. (1866) Civil Rights Act, which is race only. Shelley versus Kramer. Racially restrictive covenants and deeds are unenforceable. Kramer had restrictive covenants that prevented Black people from owning/living in the Kramer subdivision. This violated the 14th Amendment. Jones versus Mayer upholds 1866 Civil Rights Act, bars all racial discrimination, no exceptions. Jones was refused to buy the house because they was Black. That's a violation of the Civil Rights Act of 1866. Mayer thought it didn't cover private properties like homes. The Fair Housing Amendment Act of 1988. This prevents discrimination on mental or physically handicapped. Prevents discrimination on family status. Federal protected classes. There are There are 7. Race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, and family status. Disability/handicap. Michigan's protected classes, which is race, color, religion, sex, national origin, marital status, family status, and then age. Alright. Black busting / panic peddling. Scaring people away out of the neighborhood so you can make money because they're trying to sell their homes. Steering. When you lead people toward or away to a certain area based on their protected classes, race, sex, religion, etc. Basically, if a black person is trying to move into a white neighborhood, the sales agent will try to move them to a black neighborhood because they are black and not white and they think they don't need to be in a white neighborhood. Redlining. Refusing to make loans to buy, construct, etc. by discriminating on race, color, sex, etc. Trust / escrow accounts and earnest money. Broker must have at least one trust / escrow account, but they can have more than one. The account must be demand in nature, such as a checking or savings account, so money can be withdrawn at any time. The broker may keep only $2,000 of his own money in the account. Any more than $2,000 is considered commingling, or $500 if $2,000 is not an option. The account must be non-interest bearing. All checks drawn on account must at least have the broker's signature. Creates escrow agency. The broker holding check is the neutral third party who can only release funds after consumption of the deal, meaning it's finished, or with the signed neutral release by both the seller and the buyer, or by the judge's order. The check must be deposited within 2 banking / business days when the offer has been accepted by the seller and the buyer. If the check bounced, everybody needs to know. The earnest money is considered liquidated damages, but the purchase agreement is binding on all parties even without the earnest money. Environmental regulations. Liable parties as is clause will not protect from fraud charge. Innocent purchaser defense. Baseline environmental assessment should advise for undeveloped land. Chlorhodane. Used as a pesticide in agriculture, but in residential primarily for termites, may cause cancer and nervous system disorders. It's banned in the U.S. It must be disclosed. Mold may cause illness. If mold is present, it's a material fact and must be voluntarily disclosed. Always recommend buyer / seller contact an expert. Electromagnetic fields, aka EMF. Not proven, but strongly suspected that living near high-tension power lines can cause cancer, genetic mutations, and other adverse health effects. May cause a stigma which could lower property value. Lead paint disclosure requirements. Sources of lead paint in home include paint, pipes, water, and soil. Type of property covered: residential construction prior, so before, to 1978. Housing for elderly, foreclosure sales, housing, short-term rentals, housing for elderly, foreclosure sales, housing certified to be lead-free, not bank-owned. Main purpose: to protect children from learning disabilities, remediation by institution. Lead paint requirements for seller: individual use only. Please do not replicate or dispute. Disclose known lead paint hazards and provide inspection report. Give book Protect Your Family from Lead in Your Home. Permit purchasers a 10-day period to conduct inspection, which purchaser may waive if chooses to do so. Sellers are not required to test for lead. Landfill must be disclosed if in vacancy may contaminate groundwater. Remediation by capping, which is process of covering with clay to provide a barrier and mitigate the negative effects on the environment. Asbestos. Asbestos is a fiber which can cause cancer. Remediation by encapsulation to prevent entering lungs. Presence may be disclosed. Material fact: used for insulation and fire retardant properties. Some floor tiles contain asbestos. Some vermicellities installations also contaminated with asbestos. Always recommend buyer/seller to contact an expert. Radon gas. It's odorless, colorless gas which causes lung cancer. Natural occurrence from the breakdown of radioactive substance in rock. Is a material fact, thus must be voluntarily disclosed. Test air with radon test kit, but not a required test. Fairly easy remediation by venting. Michigan Consumer Protection Act prohibits this. Michigan Consumer Protection Act prohibits disregarding the services or reputation of any other real estate professional, failing to reveal or misrepresenting facts material to the transaction. Truth in Lending / Regulation Z / Federal Consumer Credit Protection Act applies to personal loans of less than $25,000 and most residential real estate loans. Truth in Lending statement on which lenders must disclose in writing the true cost of credit in dollars and percentages. This is required only for the borrower fees related to the loan, so not necessarily all borrowers' costs. Lenders must disclose the amount of loan, down payment, and number, amount, frequency of payments, and APR, and total number of payments except on the first loan on the house. It's the 3-day right of recessions cooling off period. Triggering language: if specific financing terms are mentioned in any type of advising, includes internet advising, then full costs must be disclosed. Federal Equal Opportunity Act. This act prohibits lenders and creditors from discriminating in the extending of credit on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, marital status, age, and dependence on public assistance. Exemptions do not exist for non-citizens and persons under 18. Lenders must inform in writing rejected applications to why credit was denied or terminated. Michigan General Usury Statute, Public Act 326 governs interest rates for various types of loans and lenders. Charging more than a maximum is considered usury. 11% max private lender party on loans secured by the first lien on a residential real property. More than 25% is considered criminal unless a state enacts legislation with a different ceiling. Spam Act. All commercial emails must include the name and street address of the broker. Must have an opt-out feature. All opt-out requests must be honored within 10 days. RESPA, Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, Regulation X, applies to all family residential real estate loans if federally related, not land, contract, cash, or commercial. Individual use only. Please do not listen. Okay. RESPA does not limit what a lender may charge, but merely requires disclosure of fees in a timely manner so the borrower may compare prices of different lenders. RESPA contains anti-kick provisions. You may receive anything of value for a referral to another settlement service provider. Referrals may only be paid for with another referral or a thank you. Affiliated business disclosures at a time or referral in person or within 3 days if by phone. RESPA restricts escrow funds lender can retain. All money which changes hands between a buyer and seller must be on the HUD 1 or the CD, or it is considered loan fraud. TRID stands for Truth in Lending. RESPA integrated disclosure. TRID rules came into effect on October 15th. Michigan Sellers Disclosure Act, mandated for all 1 through 4 family residential sales or lease with option to purchase, even for the for sale by owner and land contract. Seller required to fill out the form honestly to the best of the seller's knowledge and should reflect history of house, not just current issues. May not be actual condition of the house. Interstate Land Sales Full Disclosure Act. Sale of lease and vacant land through interstate commerce, 100 or more lot applies. Michigan Land Division Act. Regulates the orderly division of land, provides for proper ingress and egress from lots, controls for residential building within floodplains, promotes proper surveying and accurate legal descriptions, regulates approval and revising of plates. The formula for splits extend from platting is as follows. Maximum number is 15, which breaks out as follows. For the first 10 acres of the parent lot, 4 parcels. For each additional 10 acres, 1 more parcel up to a maximum of 11 additional parcels. Deeds for unplatted land must contain a statement as to whether or not the grantor is giving the grantee the right to divide the land. If land is located on a private road, this must be disclosed to the purchaser on a separate document attached to the PA. Any farmland in the vicinity must be disclosed to the purchaser. Landlord rules. Within 30 days of moving out, the landlord must send termination inventory lists and cost of damages to tenant and balance of security deposit money. If landlord does not do so, then landlord is barred from claiming damages, and any money kept must be for rent and utilities only. Maximum of 1.5 months security deposit, and they can also collect the first month's rent at the same time. No more than that. Failure to respond to claim damage lists, the court judgment, or unpaid rent and utility bills is the only ways for the tenant to lose their security deposits. Math formulas. To find the total commission, it's the sales price times the commission rate. To find the office commission, it's total commission times the split percent. The broker or salesperson's commission, office commission times percent split. For the new value of a home, 100% plus percent amount increase or decrease in value times the original value. For the gross rent multiplier times monthly gross rent will equal the value. To find the interest paid that month, it's principal's balance times interest rate divided by 12 months. To find the total paid over life of loan, it's monthly mortgage payment times 12 months times the term of loan. To find the total interest paid over life of loan, is total paid over life of loan minus the principal. To find the monthly mortgage payment, it's the amount borrowed divided by 100% times money per thousand. Use the amortization chart they give you in the front. Dispute impact. A policy or rule that's a great impact on the person with the disability, people with Social Security money, or unemployment. Alright, the right of survivorship. 4 guys buy a cabin with joint tenancy. 2 have wives. Each guy gets 1/4 of the property. If one dies, his portion goes to the other remaining men. None goes to the wives. If all 3 dies, the last man gets the whole house. If the last man dies and have a wife, then a wife gets it. Unity of ownership. Time, interest, title, and possession. Tenancy in common. 2 or more people. One dies, the other person don't get their share. The share goes to his heirs or family. Joint tenancy. When one dies, their share goes to the other owner. Tenancy by the entirety. Right of survivorship. One dies, the other gets the share. Both names have to be on the deed. Husband plus wife, marriage only. Both have to sign the deed. If their divorce is changed to the tenancy in common. If one dies, their share goes to the family. Promulgate. To make known. For advertisement, it has to be the broker's name. It can't be smaller than my name, the broker's address, or the broker's phone number. Fully amortized. Last payment pays off the loan. Partly amortized or balloon mortgage. Small payments up front, big payment at the end. Non-amortized. Interest-only payments. Small payments while renting. No payment went to the full price of the house. Lien theory mortgage. Owner has legal title. Lender has lien on the property. Title theory mortgage. Owner has equitable title. Lender has legal title of the property. Conventional mortgages. They're uninsured. Best mortgage. Need good credit. 20% down. Insured mortgage. It's a 3 to 19% down. Private mortgage insurance. Pay until you owe 20% equity. Then you no longer need to pay the private mortgage insurance. Open-end mortgage. Home equity line of credit. You can borrow back the money that you gave. Revolving limit. Payments are interest only. Home equity loan. Give you set amount of money, set interest rate and payment. Last payment pays the rest off. Wraparound mortgage, aka second or junior. You buy a house at 3% at the first bank. Then you go to the next bank for $10,000 for 5%. Next bank tells me to pay them the full 110% at 5%, or the full $110,000 at 5%, while they pay back my first bank. Federal housing omission. Give money if home is in good shape. Homeowner might have to fix the home before they sell it. only a 3.5% down payment, only be a primary resident where you must live in it, no renting to people or investing in the home. There's upfront fee. The mortgage insurance premium don't go away. Life of the loan. Insured. Lender gets money if it defaults. VA. Guaranteed mortgage. 100% financing. No down payment. Must live in home. Can't rent to people. One VA loan at a time. Must be veteran that served. Married to veteran who has died because of the war. Closing/settlement costs. $200,000 mortgage, 2 points, which is 2%, $4,000. To get your mortgage down, there's a 3% origination fee, $6,000. Dust. Demand, utility, scarcity, transferability. Appraisers look at those.
And vocabulary. Define each word or phrase using as few words as possible. OR rule. Suffix implying giving. Grantor, optionor, vendor. EE rule. Suffix implying receiving. Grantee, optionee, vendee. Bundle of rights. Rights that are inherent in property ownership. Real property. Runs with the property, generally immovable. Personal property. Runs with a person, generally movable. Chattel real, personal property. Fixture, incorporated into the land. It is considered real property. Trade fixture, business office, is considered personal property. Riparian rights, moving body of water. Example, property adjacent to a river. Littoral rights, not moving water. Example, property adjacent to a lake. Accretion, increases the size of the property. Avulsion, sudden tearing away of land. Example would be a dam breaking. Reliction, water recedes and new land is acquired. Appurtenances, runs with the land. Freehold estate, unlimited in duration. Ownership. Fee simple estate, absolute ownership, not free from all encumbrances, such as taxes. Fee simple defeasible has a condition that can cause loss of title. Life estate, ownership based upon the life of another. Holder of the life estate, entitled to property that is held in a life estate. Estate in reversion, held by grantor of the original conveyance. Estate in remainder, would be a reversion, but instead transferred to someone other than the grantor. Less than freehold estate, limited in duration. Example, leases. Estate for years. Define the period of time and termination date. Example, a summer rental. Periodic tenancy. From period to period, such as month to month or week to week. Estate at will, can end at any time. Estate at sufferance, stays after lease expires. Lease, personal property, it is a type of encumbrance. Percentage lease, percentage of gross receipts. Net lease, taxes, insurance, and maintenance, also known as a triple net lease. Gross lease, pays a set fee. Sandwich lease, lessor is also a lessee, also known as a sublet. Subleases, lessor is also a lessee, also known as a sandwich lease. Tenant improvement allowance, agreement from the landlord to compensate the tenant for all or portion of the funds required to construct the commercial space. Abandonment, release of responsibility and or ownership. Assignment, giving responsibility and or ownership to another. Surrender, release of responsibility and or ownership. Constructive eviction, landlord either does something or fails to do something that he has a legal duty to provide. estoppel statement, signed statement by a party certifying for another's benefit that certain facts are correct. It defined each party's responsibility in a commercial lease. Deeds, evidence of transfer. Quitclaim deed, immediate transfer of ownership. Warranty deed, grantor guarantees that he or she holds clear title and has the right to sell. Special warranty deed, guarantees clear title for the duration of the previous owner. General warranty deed, guarantees clear title for the life of the property. Title is ownership. Legal title is the right to sell. Equitable title, the right of possession and the right to gain equity. Chain of title, history of ownership, conveyances, and encumbrances. Abstract of title is a summary of title. Cloud on title, defect in the title, such as a single woman who gets married and changes her name after the ownership is conveyed. A quiet title action removes the cloud on title. Alienation of title, voluntary act of an owner disposing of the property. Alienation of title, voluntary act of an owner disposing of the property. Title insurance insures against defects in title to real property. Severalty, sole ownership. Concurrent estates, more than one person owns. Joint tenancy, unity of time, title, interest, and possession, and has the right of survivorship. Tenancy in common, unity of possession, no right of survivorship. Encumbrances, anything that limits the property. Easement, the right to cross another person's land. Dominant tenement, the property with the right of crossing. Servient tenement, the property that's being crossed, the property that's encumbered, and they cannot revoke the easement. Easement by prescription, implied easement granted after the dominant estate has used the property in a hostile, continuous, and open manner for a statutory prescribed number of years. Appurtenant easement, easement that transfers with the transfer of title. Easement in gross, no dominant tenement. Government powers, P, police power, escheat, taxes, and eminent domain. Police power, regulations implemented for public health, safety, and general welfare. Zoning, manner governments control development of land and the kinds of uses. Zoning is a police power. Building codes, set of rules that specify the standards for construction. Building codes is a police power. R3, multifamily residential. Variance, granted exception to the rule. Downzoning, commercial to residential. Non-conforming use, use that was allowed under the prior zoning regulations. Grandfather clause, old rule continues to apply to some existing situations. When zoning changes, but owners are allowed to continue with the non-conforming uses, this is a grandfather clause. Escheat, goes to the state when somebody dies without a will and without heirs. Intestate, no will. Testate, has a will. Holographic will, entirely handwritten. Probate, process of allocating assets of the deceased. 1031 tax deferred exchange, like kind, 45 days to identify, 180 days to close. Boot, cash or other property added to exchange to make the value equal. Ad valorem, according to value. Eminent domain, government's ability to take private property for public use while requiring just compensation to be paid. Condemnation, process of paying when property is taken under eminent domain. Inverse condemnation, suing the government when the property was taken under eminent domain and just compensation was not paid. Encroachment, One property crosses the property line to another. Liens, owe money, private restrictions and easements are not liens. General lien can take all property. Examples are income tax and judgment liens. Specific liens can take a specific property. Examples are mortgages and property tax. Voluntary lien, option to have a debt. Examples are mortgage. Involuntary lien, no option to have a debt. Example would be taxes. Mechanics lien, security interest in the title to property for the benefit of those who have supplied labor or materials that improve the property. Judgment lien, court-ordered debt. Lease pendants, lawsuit pending. Injunctions, a court order to stop. Constructive notice, a person or entity should have known as a reasonable person would have. Actual notice, a given legally sufficient assurance that actual knowledge of the matter has been conveyed. Acknowledgement, authenticate legal instruments which may give the instrument legal validity. Escrow, neutral third party. A debit, money owed. A credit, money received. Short rate, penalty method of calculating return premium of an insurance policy. Impounds, method of collecting debts that take priority over the loan. RESPA, disclosures of settlement costs and to eliminate abusive practices. Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. TILA, provide complete disclosure of lending fees and practices. Truth in Lending Act. Fair Housing Act, 1968, and prevents discrimination. Jones versus Mayer, 1968 court case prohibiting discrimination. Sherman Antitrust Act, promotes free market competition. America with Disabilities Act, all public property must be accessible to everybody. Material fact, something a reasonable person would recognize. A buyer's race is never a material fact. Steering, discriminating when working with buyers. Blockbusting, inducing sellers using discrimination. Panic selling, inducing sellers using discrimination. Panic peddling, inducing sellers using discrimination. Redlining, choosing where to provide financing based upon race or ethnicity. Misrepresentation, legal right to rescind. Actual fraud, full intention. Constructive fraud, misleading without intention. Negative fraud, lying through omission. Commingling, mixing money. Conversion, using the client's money. Puffing, it's exaggerating. Caveat emptor, buyer beware. Contract essentials, agreement, capable parties, lawful object, and consideration. Valid contract contains all four essentials of a contract. Void contract lacks one of the four essentials. Voidable contract has the option to rescind. Bilateral contract, 2 promises. Unilateral contract, 1 promise. Executed contract, all the terms of the contracts have been fulfilled. Executory contract, a contract is yet to be completed. Statute of frauds states what must be in writing. Statute of limitation states what are the necessary time durations. Ratification, signing or giving formal consent to agreement, make it official to be valid. Novation, new. Codicil is an amendment. Agency, accountability, confidentiality, obedience, loyalty, and disclosure, a code. Fiduciary, loyalty. Actual authority, specific powers expressly conferred by principle. Ostensible authority, when a reasonable third party would understand that an agent had authority to act. Dual agent, represents buyer and seller. Universal agent, broad authority to act on behalf of the principal for an unlimited time. General agent, broad authority to act on behalf of the principal for a limited time. Special agent, limited authority to act on behalf of the principal for a limited time. Attorney in fact, the authorization to act for another through the power of attorney. Estoppel, precludes a person from asserting something contrary to what is implied by a previous action or statement. Listing, employment contract. Exclusive listing, one broker and must have a definite termination date. Exclusive agency, one broker, if owner sells, no commission will be paid. Evidence of recurrent cause is needed. Exclusive authorization and right to sell listing. Commission gets paid to the broker if the property sells, no recurrent cause is needed. Open listing, multiple brokers can be hired, evidence of recurring cause is needed. Net listing, money received above a designated amount. Protection period clause, also known as a safety clause, can earn commission after listing expires. Contingency clause, a condition or action that must be met for a real estate contract to become binding. Hold harmless clause, both parties agree not to hold the other party responsible for any loss, damage, or legal liability. Interim occupancy agreement, used if title and possession cannot be delivered at the same time. Deposit shows that you are serious about the purchase. Value, what a ready, willing, and able buyer will pay. Essential elements of value, scarcity, transferability, utility, and demand. Stud. Principle of substitution, the basis for the market data approach to appraisal. The maximum value of property, usually established by the cost of acquiring an equivalent substitute property that is the same use, design, and income. Principle of contribution, value contributed by a component or part to the total value of the whole. Principle of regression, value goes down when close to lesser properties. Principle of progression, value goes up when close to more valuable properties. Plottage, the increased value resulting from consolidating. Assemblage, joining several parcels to form a larger parcel. Appraisal, estimate of value. Narrative appraisal, the most comprehensive report. Market data comparison approach, comparing properties of similar size and condition in the same area. Cost replacement approach, how much would it cost to replace it brand new? Capitalization income approach, converts income into value. Gross multipliers, price divided by rent. Acre, 42,560 square feet. Depreciation, loss in value due to any cause. Physical deterioration, wear and tear. Functional obsolescence, poor design, economic obsolescence, due to causes outside of the property lines. Interest, rent on money. Leverage, using other people's money. Amortization, spreading payments over time. Negative amortization, payments do not cover the interest, thus the debt goes up. Balloon loan, large final payments before the loan is fully amortized. Appreciation, increase in value. Construction loan, interim loan. Takeout loan, long-term loan. Obligatory advances, also known as draws, the disbursement of money over the period of a construction loan, which the lender is bound to make under the term of the loan. Interim loan, short-term loan. Subject to seller liable. Assume buyer liable. Hypothecate, putting up collateral to secure the debt of another. Subordination clause, current claim on any debts will take priority over any other claims. Subordination is the act of yielding priority. Prepayment clause states when and the terms of the prepayment penalty. Prepayment penalty regulates what the borrower is allowed to pay off and when. Primary mortgage market, where borrowers and mortgage originators come together. Secondary mortgage market, resale marketplace. FHA insures loans. VA loan, a loan program for veterans where no down payment is needed. GNMA, Ginnie Mae, expand fund for mortgages that are insured or guaranteed by other federal agencies. Freddie Mac buys mortgages on the secondary market, pools them, and sells them.